guys, welcome to episode 34 of Mark Anthony's Music Picks. Today I'm going to switch it up a little bit and go with some sing-along tunes that you can jam to in the car. Summer's almost over. We've got 3 or 4 weeks left here, and my goal is to give you some of my favorite tunes that I've listened to over the years. And just, this is like windows down, sunroof open, arm hanging out the window, songs that you can just totally jam to, like day party, rooftop house gear. The first one is all the way from 2003. This is Curtis Mantronic, How Did You Know? It's a beautiful house song. And when I say song, I'm differentiating that from a normal house track that might have vocal snippets and bits. This is a full-blown song with a really powerful vocal in it. It's about a girl falling in love.
I'm in a spin, I'm caving in, I'm living in a daydream. When I saw you, your smile shone through and touched me like a sunbeam. I'm inside out, I'm crazy about the way you make my heart feel. I'm head over heels and falling more each day.
I've always had a thing for this. I can't remember how I discovered this or who put me onto it. It might have been a friend sending me like a file over AOL Instant Messenger back in the day. But there was always something about it. I remember when I first started collecting vinyl, this was one of the first ones that I purchased. I started back in 2004, so this was only a year old, and there was just always something magical about it. The other thing I want to say is for this episode, I made my clips a little bit longer. I generally try to stick to 30 to 35 second clips. For this episode, I'm doing about a minute and 10 because I tried to specifically capture the portions of the song that show you like the build up and the crescendo and the whole movement of the vocal and how it's arranged. The next track that I want to talk to you about is Shapeshifters, and this is Lola's theme. I highly recommend going and watching the music video for this. It's a theme with a few kids in an amusement park just going around and playing games, and it has this very childlike, innocent theme, and it's just a beautiful vocal. When I think of Shapeshifters, I think back to that like Deep Dish era where Deep Dish was together and they were playing all these party tunes, and it was just like that like happy, uplifting, energetic outdoor vibe. And that's what I think is really captured here. For me, just the straight up, the extended mix, the original extended mix is all I've ever needed, because it was great right out of the box and there was nothing that you really needed to add to it. I'll also say that this is 2004. It seems like there was an era in the early 2000s, maybe ending around 2007, where Deep House just seemed to be at its total peak. If you look behind me, I have a couple of Defected records that I'm a big fan of, Curing the Cause, and this other song by Jammin' called Give You. But that was like Defected's peak. That was when people were investing, it seems like, the most time and energy into these beautiful deep house songs, and they've aged so well. If you compare some of these deep house tunes to like what's coming out lately, and I'm going to use Kygo as an example. I don't actually have anything against Kygo tracks, but Kygo is like the new deep house of this most recent decade that just ended. And if you compare like his style to that, it's like his is a little bit more formulaic and a little bit more accessible. These were a little bit more on the underground side of the spectrum, although, you know, Defected is probably as close to being above ground as you could get. But there's just a difference in quality, I think, like in the songwriting and in the depth and the attention that went into making them all. So, you know, sometimes I kind of long for that era. Every once in a while, I'll try to like check out Defected's recent catalog, and there's just nothing that's really like doing it for me anymore. But anyways, on to the next record. They can't all be happy, right? This one is Roger Sanchez's Lost. Roger Sanchez, he's been producing since the mid-90s. I think he's still active. He broke out with his song called Another Chance, which is like more of like a disco tinged hit with a really nice male vocal. This one is a female vocal and probably a little bit less known than Another Chance, but it's also great. This one's sad, it's about heartbreak, it's written in a minor key, but really, really exquisite vocals.
You were still in love with me, but you turned away. I start to cry. I'm lost without your love, and I won't survive. Don't leave me alone tonight. I'm lost without your love, and I won't survive. Don't leave me, 'cause I won't survive.
If you want to round out your catalog, play like a nice day party and maybe surprise some people, have somebody come up to the booth and say, hey, what was that? You know, I think this would do it. Excellent record here. Next up is a track from an artist named Delgui, and the song's called Highlights, and there's a Charles Webster remix on this. I heard this, there's a local Philly DJ, I can't remember his name, but he made this mix back in the day, like right the same year that this came out. He called it Depth Charge or something like that, and it was one of those mixes by a local DJ that for whatever reason I just played through it so much because he had so many great selections in it. And this track was, I think, the highlight of that mix. It has kind of like a little bit of a haunted minor key vibe, but it's actually a happy song. It's written about like it's like inspirational and written to describe the feeling of having beautiful moments in your life and reminiscing on them. I've played this in a lot of my house sets. Like this is like in the box, not leaving the box, something that I rely on all the time. It's got a nice punchy kick, so you don't have to worry about the energy falling down when you mix into it, and the vocal just totally crushes it. Specifically, there's a part where the guy's talking about the highlights in his life, and the producer, Charles Webster, put a reverb on his voice when he says the word highlights, and it kind of just like echoes like lights, 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 and it just like reverbs out down to nothing over a very long period of time, and it just makes the hair on my arms stand up every time I play it. Just never really got old for me.
I can see the highlights everywhere in my life. I can see the highlights everywhere in my life.
This is a cheap record. It's on Clone, easy to get. Highly recommend this if you're a house head, man. My last pick for today is one that I forgot to add this to my collection on Discogs when I first bought it, and I went and looked at it today before I made this episode. and I saw that somebody's trying to sell it for like $50, and I was really surprised by that. It's not that the song's bad, it's just that it was so accessible back in the day. This is Bob Sinclar's World Hold On. And if you were partying or going to like house parties at all in 2006, you'll remember this. This was a huge hit at the Winter Music Conference in Miami in 2006, and I remember seeing videos of it being played. There were already a few versions out by the time Winter Music Conference happened, and then 2-3 months later, when summer actually hit, like Music Conference was in March, and this was, you know, maybe May, June that this started really like circulating around the Philly scene. You would hear it, and it had that very distinct whistle hook. And that whistle hook is the real catch of it.
Open up your heart, what do you feel? Is it real? Yeah. The Big Bang may be a million years away. Oh. But I can't think of a better time to say, world, hold on. Instead of messing with our future, open up inside. World, hold on. One day you will have to answer to the children of the sky. World, hold on. Instead of messing with our future, tell me no more lies. World, hold on. One day you will have to answer to the children of the sky.
I remember the first time I heard it played out, between the vocal being very well written and then the whistle part. I remember going up to my friend after the party after he played it, and I was like, what is that? And he was like, oh, it's Bob Sinclar, World Hold On. How do you not know that? He kind of had a little smugness to him, and I was like, well, you know, this is my first time I heard it, but it definitely made an impact on me. You should be able, the defected version of this is selling for $50 on Discogs. You should be able to get it cheaper. There's got to be some other versions. I didn't really look into it further, but this has really had lasting power for me. I think it's fun, very accessible, and it's just a very well-rounded track. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And like I said, only 3 weeks left of summer. Try to get out there in the sun as much as you can and enjoy yourself. Take care.